Hello everyone. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat siang. First thing first, I would like to say thank you for Goethe Institut for organizing this amazing online discussions and for inviting me to speak. Also for everyone for joining me online today to discuss more about social media and political ads in Indonesia. So without further ado, so it is almost impossible to discuss about social media and political ads without mentioning Cambridge Analytica. The scandal, the Cambridge Analytica scandal on 2018 is perhaps the turning point for online privacy and data protections. The scandal has significantly changed our understanding as to how consumer data is collected, used by whom, and to what ends. And okay, so brief explanations of what Cambridge Analytica scandal is. Cambridge Analytica is a British political consulting firm which provides data-driven campaigning by using advertising technology combined with strategic communications for electoral process. And what we know, and they work for Donald Trump's 2016 presidential campaign. So what they did is they harvested millions of Facebook users' data, like name, date of birth, and Facebook likes, and they use it to build a profile, a voter's profile, and combine it with voter registration data and use the profile to target people with political ads on their social media account. And we know that on 2000, as the aftermath of 2016 US election, there are a lot of intensive debate around potential links between a Trump campaign and Russians. It even led to an ex-Cambridge Analytica employee, Brittany Kaiser, being questioned by Robert Mueller about whether Cambridge Analytica's operations for Trump was coordinated with the Russians' information warfare campaign. And it is true that there is no definitive evidence that connects the two, the Cambridge Analytica and the Russia's information campaign. So what we are left is a situation in which there are a lot of smoke with no fire. However, what we know for sure is that Cambridge Analytica harvested people's data and used it to build a voter profile without the user's consent, and that is a violation of our privacy right. And unfortunately, Cambridge Analytica was not only meddling with the US elections. It is also has worked with elections in around 68 countries around the world. For example, in Kenya, Cambridge Analytica claims to have worked with Uhuru Kenyatta, a presidential candidate back then on 2017. And later it was disclosed that Cambridge Analytica campaign strategy was divisive propaganda. So during the campaign season, Kenyan citizens received targeted messages, some of which contained disinformations and like campaign messages. And it led to the speculation that voter registration data and social media data, as well as phone number, were being combined and linked to create a voter's profile. And this is problematic because Kenya has a long history of ethnically divided politics and election-related violence. on 2017, when Cambridge Analytica reportedly worked in Kenya, it was reported that there were 49 people died from election-related violence. And as for Southeast Asia, Cambridge Analytica has also been linked to several countries like Thailand, Malaysia, including Indonesia. As for Indonesia, it worked after the resignations of Suharto's on 1998, and they claimed to work for Gus Dur presidential campaign back then. But all of this happened before social media become a thing in Indonesia. And so what makes political ads on conventional media like TV, newspaper, or radio different from political ads on social media? First thing first, it's the level of targeting. There are significant differences between political ads on conventional media and social media. Political ads on conventional media like newspaper, televisions, and radio are targeted at larger demographic group. For example, if you are advertising in, say, a national television or newspaper, your ads will reach a nationwide audience. And if you are advertising in a local television or newspaper, sorry, it's raining heavily, so. And if you are advertising in a local televisions or newspaper, your ads will reach a certain local audience that is, for example, province-wide. And while for political ads on social media truly is a game changer. The ads are targeted at individual level through a process called a PBT, or political behavioral targeting. It's basically a creations of voters profile based on voters' online behaviors and other data, as well as the use of the profile to target people with tailored political ads. And this technique is so accurate that now political parties are able to identify a tiny sliver of people that they called as the pursuedables or the undecided voters. And oh my God. And secondly is the level of supervision and public scrutiny received by both ads. Political ads on conventional media receive higher public supervision because they are distributed publicly. So basically everyone see the same ads content and not personalized ads. And this is also supported by adequate regulatory framework. For example, we have broadcasting regulations, we have press law if it is a newspaper, and all of these regulations is to ensure that the ads do not contain any illegal materials like disinformation, hate speech, black campaigns, and so on and so on. While political ads on social media are oftentimes unregulated, therefore leaving them unsupervised. This makes political ads more prone to abuse and used as a tool to disseminate disinformation and like campaign messages. And the other thing is that the way political ads on conventional media and social media are distributed is different. Political ads on conventional media are circulated publicly, like what I said before, and therefore receive adequate public scrutiny from journalists, for example, that will follow up their campaign promises later on if they are elected. However, for political ads on social media, the ads are distributed privately and directly to individuals' accounts. So it is a private space. Basically, it's a black box. It's distributed through a black box, and we have no idea who saw what ads and what data they use to target the ads, who placed the ad, what nationality they have, and how much money spent, or how many people see the ads. We have no idea about all of this data unless the online platforms, the social media companies make this data publicly available. And this is why ads transparency is a very fundamental tool for our public supervisory authority, or Bawaslu in this case, to be able to provide adequate supervisions to political ads and social media. Okay, and how about Indonesia? So to understand more about the practice of the political ads on social media in Indonesia, ELSAM conducted a monitoring during the 2018 general elections in Indonesia. We conducted monitoring from 31st March until 17 April 2019. And what we did is we asked the public to submit political ads they see on their social media account, ads that label sponsor, as well as to submit the why am I seeing this ad page that the social media platform provides. And the reason why we did this monitoring is because we see Indonesia's digital landscape is evolving at a rapid pace, and therefore it holds a strong potential for political actors to utilize this online space to deliver their campaign messages. There are several political actors that already express that big data, digital campaign, and micro-targeting is part of their campaign strategies. And also, data from We Are Social on 2020 shows that the internet users in Indonesia in 2020, there is 175 million internet users. The number increased by 25 million users, or 17% from last year. As for the social media users, there were 160 million users, and the number increased by 12 billion, or 8.1% from last year. So what are regulations regulating political campaign in Indonesia? There are currently 2 regulations. First, it's the law number 7 of 2017 on general elections, or Undang-Undang Pemilu. And secondly, there is General Elections Commission's regulation number 23 of 2018 on general election campaign. So peraturan KPU nomor 23 tahun 2018. And there are several problems around these regulations. First, there is no ads transparency requirements. Both the General Election Act and the General Election Commission regulation do not impose any obligations for social media platforms to provide ads transparency on their platform. Instead, these 2 regulations focus on regulating the registrations of social media account of the political parties and candidates. And second is the General Election Commission used the wrong approach on regulating political ads on social media. So the approach they use to regulate political ads on social media is similar with the approach they use to regulate conventional media. So what they do is that they limit the advertising slot, and the General Election Commission regulation regulates that political parties or candidates can place ads on their social media accounts for one spot for a maximum durations of 30 seconds for each social media per day. And when we asked the General Election Commissions to clarify what this regulation means, they told us that this means that each candidate and political party can upload something, campaign messages on their platform for 30 seconds, and then they have to delete it. So it is quite clear that the regulations is aimed, sorry. Okay, so it is clear that the regulation is aimed to regulate organic posts of the social media account, and not regulating the actual ads. And it is actually missing the point, the most important point on why we should regulate political ads on the first place, which is to have more ads transparency, for the Bawaslu to be able to providing adequate supervision to the ads. And lastly, unfortunately, until now, Indonesia do not have any data protections law yet. So data protections regulation is really important and plays a crucial role in regulating how companies use our data, including for profiling purposes. And one of data protection principles that is relevant for for profiling practices is the fair, lawful, and transparent principle. This principle means that we are entitled to get information about the logic involved in profiling, and as well as the risk and the consequences of the existence of such profiles. And social media, which is acting as the data controller, are obliged to give such information to us. And providing such information related to profiling would prevent data profiling actors like Cambridge Analytica to use our data without our consent and use it in unimaginable ways. And therefore, it's basically the data protections give the control of people's data back to the the data subject. And okay, so these are several findings that we found during the monitoring period of the 2019 general elections. In general, we received around 116 submissions. And we found, in general, the violation we found is that there are ads during the silence period from 14 until 16 April, and even also on election day on 17 April 2019. So by platform, 37% the ads were found on Facebook, and 62% from Instagram. It is important to note that this finding does not indicate that there is no political ads on other social media platforms. it is also only the indication that probably there are no people who submitted to us. And as for by region, there are the ads were spread in 9 regions in Indonesia. There's Jakarta, West Java, East Java, and so on and so on. So there are 3 categories of advertisers. First is political party account, and second is personal account, and lastly it's other account with unclear affiliations. We found accounts with names like Muslimah Idaman, Saudagar Muda Aceh, Anak Muda Memilih, and so on and so on. Both political party and candidates are obliged to register their social media accounts. So for the first category and the second category, it's no problem it's easy to attribute accountability or responsibility to those accounts if they are disseminating disinformation, for example. However, as for the third category, the other account with unclear affiliations, it's gonna be a problem to attribute responsibility or accountability to those accounts, because political parties and candidates can easily deny any wrongdoings or affiliations with this account. So this fact, while we did not find any disinformations or black campaign messages from the monitoring, however, this remains prone to abuse, and because again, these accounts have no affiliations, and it's really hard to track down who is behind the account. And despite the high numbers of political ads that we found on Instagram, unfortunately, the "why am I seeing this ad" feature on Instagram does not provide any meaningful information as to why people are targeted with the ads they see. And furthermore, the explore and download the ad library report is also not available in Indonesia. The availability of the report is very crucial for ad transparency, because this report is supposedly to help us to provide a snapshot of political ads on Facebook and Instagram, like what content of the ads, who runs it, how much money spent, and so on and so on. So what can we do to help to prevent unlawful profiling for political purposes happening in Indonesia for the upcoming local elections, because of course being postponed because of the coronavirus? There are several things. First thing first, to enact a comprehensive data protections bill that allows people to take over control over their data, of course. And secondly, we need to update our elections commissions regulations regarding the political campaign to add more relevant provisions needed to enhance transparency and supervisions of political ads on social media. And lastly, for social media platform to provide meaningful ads transparency, and also to implement privacy by design principle into their business model. And that's all from me today. And I was informed that we will have a live Q&A session on Saturday, 25th April on 2 p.m. if I'm not mistaken. So if you have any questions, a response, or anything, please just write it down. And don't forget to join the live session so we can discuss more about it then. And thank you again for joining me online today. Please stay safe, take care, and don't forget to wash your hands. Have a good day. Bye.